Welcome back, guys, to Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations, where last episode, after Detective Gumshoe patted Sheena down finding the missing Bowley's knife, we learnt more about both the past and present, but wasn't able to pry more information about the smuggling from Agent Lang's detained subordinate. We then talked to Detective Bad, who gave us some extra evidence, the trump card that he and Faraday were to use if not betrayed by you, before then getting taken away himself for his crimes as the Adagrasu. Now of Ambassador Alba attempting to shut down the investigation, Agent Lang has returned to accuse Franziska von Karma of murdering Master Mask, having had the ability to move around fairly freely, leading us to continue into the Allebahstian Embassy to begin an argument. The border-crossing weapons. One of Alabast's knives was used in Babal to murder Mr. Kochin, and the murder weapon in the killing of Damas too is Babal's Prima statue. Somehow these two objects were able to penetrate the two countries' impenetrable security. The only one who traversed the two countries just before and after the crimes was you. So as long as I can't explain how the weapons moved about, Franziska will remain a suspect. You got it, Mr. Prosecutor. So why don't you stop giving me a hard time? Under these circumstances, who the heck can carry a weapon across country lines? I've worked through every possibility, but there's only one that's plausible. Your boss. Agent Lang, what I've learned from you just now is that you've lost sight of yourself. What are you talking about? By focusing too intently on that which is in front of us, we become blind to the truth. Don't tell me Lang Z never said anything to that effect. You, Prosecutor, who do you think you are speaking about Lang Z's proverbs like that? I don't need his proverbs, because my words are all you will need to see the truth. Time to press! One of Alabast's knives was used in Babal to murder Mr. Kochin. Hold it! I concur that this knife crossed over country lines. Good, but that's not the only thing that did. You mustn't forget about the other weapon. The knife was only one. And the murder weapon in the killing of Damas too is Babal's Prima statue. Hold it! So you're saying that the Prima statue was also brought over by Franziska? Like I told you before, that's the only way it makes sense. It's massive! Hold it! And how exactly did she bring it over? I haven't figured that out yet. That's a rather weak statement considering how sure you are. Maybe, but there is one thing I do know for sure. Somehow, these two objects were able to penetrate the two countries' impenetrable security. Hold it! Impenetrable? I should hardly think so. You've seen the top of the wall between the two countries, right? Who in the world could cross over that? Yeah, not even I could climb over that thing with all that barbed wire. The only way into either embassy is through the doors in the Theatrum Neutralis. So the only way for the knife and the Prima statue to traverse the two countries is through those security camera-equipped, well-guarded doors. I mean, personally, for me, the roof... People got on the roof without... Larry got on the roof without getting caught up until a point. The only one who traversed the two countries just before and after the crimes was you. Oh. Was Franziska really the only person to have traveled between the two countries? Larry could have easily done it. Well, more to the point, Larry did? Multiple people did. According to the guards at both doors, she's the only one to go back and forth. The sister there was in Allebahst when the Adagrasu showed. And then, just before you guys found Mr. Kochin's body, she entered Babal. I think we can assume that's when she brought the knife into Babal. Objection! Then how would you explain the Prima statue? I haven't quite figured that out yet. However, the fact that the two weapons crossed the border proves that the killer must have also travelled across the country lines. The only things to cross the border are the Prima statue and the knife. I should hardly think that those are the only two items, Agent Lang. Ah, okay, so that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming to prove that more than those two things pass the border, which means that highlights this statement as the key, according to Miles' end summary. Interesting this time, though. Out of all the rest of the other statements in the game, literally the statement that we need to go to was always brought up with something during the pressing stage, but this time it wasn't. It was brought up at the very end, maybe? So we're trying to prove that more objects passed across that border. So what do we have? We have the Prosecutor's badge. Rubbish. Embassy guide. Rubbish. Babal's prima nocte statue itself did actually move. But we're trying to prove that more objects? By the sound of it? Or the possibility that it is able to transport something even with those barbed wire walls. So Coachman's body wasn't transported. A massive mass made it through. Knife made it. That's just key. What do we even still have as evidence? It's more to the point, isn't it? So, Cadopian paper document, that didn't pass, nor the counterfeit bills. The Passionflowers didn't pass. Mass 2's note, well, kind of passed in a sense. Allebahstian prima nocte statue. The samurai spear. I made that pass, didn't it? By the looks of things at the start. We're just forgetting about that now. Samurai dogs? Why do we still even have these? They're actually useful for something? We've got the pick that we still have no clue what that's about. It must have been chucked somewhere. If it's wet, then this is wet. A photo of the Allebahstian. Photo taken after the first fire on the 4th and 5th floors have taken place. The fires. Maybe the fire didn't pass. The wire didn't pass. The rolling fireplace didn't pass. The hair sticks didn't pass. And then we're getting into stuff that we've only just got. It's too bad we don't have literally like Larry got on the roof as a reply. I'm thinking it might be this, because it's very obviously passing over the wall. It could get over. Something went past via the sky. Is it really me just bringing that out as a kind of trying to say, hey look guys, things can get over your walls. It's not that hard. Maybe it could just be chucked. Maybe it was chucked because it... well, actually, that's not a bad idea. Maybe something was thrown. It could have been thrown. That was covered in a something that landed in the water. Just to say, there's a pick in the water too, which is very interesting. I mean, not necessarily flying, just thrown? Is this what I'm going with, though? Is this just kind of me trying to prove that other things made it over into your embassy? Or this embassy? Agent Lang, if you could take a look at this piece of evidence, you'd see that there is a very big flaw in your logic. Oh, I'm wrong. Flaw. You should not your eyes there, flaw. Talk to me again when you can see straight. Maybe this wasn't the piece I was looking for after all. Maybe it's not. Am I going with the wrong thing here? It sounded like Edgeworth. Let's go to the end dialogue again. The only thing to cross the border, the prima nocte statue and the knife. I should hardly think that those are the only two items, Agent Lang. Oh, wait. I mean, wait a second. You dumbasses. Yeah, okay. So you're saying the prima nocte statue in here? Technically, both statues passed. What? I don't know. Is that what I'm going with here? Yeah. I mean, not just one statue passed. So it's not two objects, it's three objects. My goodness. Maybe I'm like jumping ahead a little bit here. But yeah, there's not one prima nocte statue, but two prima nocte statues that passed. Objection! Yeah. Well, that took a while. Agent Lang, those two items are not the only two to cross the border tonight. Oh? Mass 2 was killed with Babal's prima nocte statue, yes. But if that's the case, then tell me, where did Allebahstian's prima nocte statue go? To Babal. Precisely. And if the two statues really were switched, then this means that both statues were smuggled across the border at some point. Which means that a total of 3 items were smuggled across the embassies. I guess so. But you know what? It doesn't matter the number of items, only that the sis is the only one who could have done it. Because the only person who went back and forth between Allebahstian and Babal is her. Is that really true? Was there no one else who travelled between the two countries? Actually, there was definitely another person. One who paid a visit to both sides of the wall. Really? Now we're gonna go get there? Objection! Is that really so, Agent Lang? What a lousy time to try and bluff your way out of this. I checked out what the guards said along with the security camera's footage. You're not gonna overturn my hypothesis that easily. suppose there was some other way, other than through the theatre doors. What other way? The other entity that managed to cross the border unharmed. Well, I pointed out it would open up a whole new possibility. And though I hesitate to bring this out, as long as this entity exists, the impossible road becomes a possibility. It looks like you've got some clever idea in mind. I do, and I can show it to you through a single piece of evidence. Fine then. Let's see this piece of evidence that will show me this other route. This piece of evidence will show us another way to move between the two countries. Now we're doing that! Okay, so, will now the weird thing where someone chucked over something while it was in something be true? Or did I just make up something on the spot, which probably would have been hard to do because someone would have noticed someone trying to, like, yonk a gigantic statue over a roof. Why the hell did I get this wrong? Well, thank you for going along my flight of fancy that held up our lines of logic this time round. I did not put my finger to my head, but now we are on the right track. Agent Lang, I'm sure you are familiar with this unforgettable photo. A supernatural photo. Like I said before, humans can't fly. No, of course not. I understand that perfectly well. Don't start claiming that Sheena somehow grew wings either. I wouldn't dream of claiming that. No wings here, and I won't allow you to take back what you said either. I'll say it again, it's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings. So you better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor. Ah! How can I prove who it was that flew through the air in this photo? Wait, not humanly possible. Eureka! Very well, you will have your explanation. It sounds like you have a good idea simmering inside that head of yours. Let's hear it. The face hidden within this photo's blurry trail shadow is... Okay, are we going with my previous flight of fancy? Just I was a little ahead of the game? So that's the one that made it over there. So if this one was the one that was swapped over... So this one's the one in Allebahst, but it was the Babalese one. This was used as the weapon, but it's been... Has it been thrown over, or yoinked over, or wireworked over, or some other thing? Was I right? Just late. Early, that's the one.
Take that!
Naturally, the shadow is the third smuggled object, the Pumiduck statue replica. You can't be serious! The Atagrasu, or rather, Callisto Yu, dressed as Agent Sheena, was inside Babal. She dressed the replica statue up in clothes and launched it through the air. Yes! Ha! Mr. Prosecutor! You left out a very crucial bit in your explanation. I know I did. She launched it through the air. And how exactly did she do that? He's literally bearing his fangs at me. But he has a point. How exactly did it move through the air like that? As long as this remains unsolved, we won't be able to move any closer to the truth. Which reminds me, didn't he say this earlier? Hey sis, I remember that just before Ambassador Albert went to give his speech, he called you into his office, right? So just before the murder, Franziska was caught here, right in this very room. If that's the case, then that may be another avenue I can pursue. Agent Lang, in order for me to answer that question, I will need to hear testimony from Miss Von Karma. Oh? What are you up to now, pretty boy? Earlier you mentioned something of interest to me. You said that just before the murder occurred, Miss Von Karma had been in this room because Ambassador Alba had called for her. And for that reason alone, you believe her to be the killer. Yeah, I guess I did say something like that. In that case, I believe it is my duty to ask her what her side of the story is. Do you really think a criminal would tell us the honest truth? How dare you! As I said numerous times, there is absolutely no proof that I am the killer. Miles Edgeworth, don't tell me you suspect me too. I don't. However, I can't ignore the fact that you were in this room at one point in time. Which is why I would like to hear about your movements in this room. Franziska, I feel that I still didn't have enough information. Which is why your testimony is incredibly important to the outcome of this case. Alright. So, what would you like me to talk about? I'd like you to please testify to your movements in this room until the murder occurred. Alright, let's try this your way for a change. But if what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, I'll place her under arrest faster than you can howl. No! As you wish. Things are looking better all the time. Movements in Allebahst. So, my yoinking at the statue over the wall thing isn't exactly wrong. But how do they do it? As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Allebahstian Embassy. After I saw the Steel Samurai off on his way towards the ambassador's office, I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Albert to his office. Franziska, I want us to make this clear from the very beginning. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time span in which you were in this office was before the murder occurred. Is that correct? Yes, of course. I see. But now the only way that I can see for us to break out of this situation is to ask Franziska about her testimony in more detail. The rebuttal. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Allebahstian Embassy.
Hold it!
I thought your duty was to fact-find anything you could about the smuggling ring. Yes, that was my job. But upon hearing that the Yatagrasu had sent a calling card to the embassy, Ambassador Albert called upon us to protect the embassy instead. That incident 7 years ago. Or have you forgotten what happened here back then? Anything related to that case we were involved in appears to be rather painful for her. It's not exactly one I can readily forget myself. Looks like you remember the case after all. Of course I do. I inspected every location, every possible escape route, and every aspect of the police's security detail. I did all that. Then after that, after I saw the Steel Samurai off on his way towards the ambassador's office...
Hold it!
I mean, we're not going to talk about the movements of Steel Samurai. Not that we want to get Larry in the crap again. See, with the theatre as well. Yes, and I suppose you were also there as well, watching that stage show? Well, yes. So Franziska was there. Well, after the show was over and I saw the Steel Samurai off... Well, that was a short bit. I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. Why did you need to confirm the degree of preparation for even the speech? For security's sake, of course. Whatever reason could I have had? No one knew just how the Yatagrasu had planned on getting in, right? Yes, I suppose you're right. And in the end, the Yatagrasu did choose to appear in the Rose Garden. Even if it did turn out to be nothing more than a shadow. Who would have thought that she would use a shadow? Calm down, Franziska. She must still be nursing a grudge over the fact that she couldn't figure it out herself. Anyway, there was no one in the Rose Garden, and we were aware that the speech was set to start soon thereafter. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Albert to his office.
Hold it!
At that time, the Master 2's body had yet to be found in this room, is that correct? That's right. But Ambassador Albert was here. One could hardly miss his rather large presence. A criminal will say anything to get out of getting arrested. How do we know you're not lying? Well, if you need proof, I'd be happy to oblige you. Seriously? Like I keep telling you. When I arrived at this office, Ambassador Albert was already here. He was standing by the flower box on the windowsill watering his plants. I can attest to that. I remember speaking with a lovely lady around that time here in my office. Alright, then add that statement to your testimony and let's hear some details. Ambassador Albert was in this room at the time, was he? When I arrived, Ambassador Albert was watering the flowers on the windowsill, so this is our important thing. Let's look at the flowers a second. Don't need water. 2 large flowers in bloom, the vines are supported by stakes and are still growing, so okay. Nothing really there that helps, so let's press.
Hold it!
For the sake of being thorough, I'd like to ask you something. How did you know that Ambassador Albert was watering his plants at the windowsill? What do you mean by that? The entrance to this room is on this side, however the window is on the opposite side. If what you say is true, then when you entered the room, his body would have been like a wall. It would have been blocking your view of what he was doing. Isn't that not correct? I suppose it was a bit hard to see around him. But fortunately for me, Ambassador Albert is not an immovable wall. I knocked before I entered, and as I did, he turned around to greet me, with a watering can in his hand. So it's only natural to believe that he was watering his plants, right? I suppose. After his greeting, we spent a little time talking about his flowers. He had obtained them himself and is growing them with the utmost care, you know.
Yes. The plants in this room, they're all like my children.
The passion flowers in the flower box on the windowsill are growing beautifully too. All 4 of them are in full bloom. Well, there's only 2.
Miss Von Karma, what did you say just now?
I said that the flowers are growing beautifully. What about that statement do you not understand?
What do I not understand? I do not understand why a certain thing is the way it is. I'd like for you to append that statement to your testimony.
Very well. There were 4 large passion flowers in full bloom in the flower box.
I don't need to press that to see the obvious contradiction in the statement.
Objection!
Franziska, for some odd reason, your testimony contradicts with this piece of evidence. Or what about look behind you?
It does appear that way.
I knew it. I knew we couldn't trust your words, sis.
Mr. Edgeworth, what are you doing discrediting Miss Von Karma like this?
Yes, sir. If you keep this up, she's gonna get taken away, sir. Yeah!
All I've done is state what I saw. I have made not a single mistake in my testimony. And for this, I am still under suspicion for murder. Is the number of flowers really all that important at this juncture, Miles?
At the very least, it is a contradiction in this enigmatic case. One that I find hard to dismiss as irrelevant. Let's hear it, Mr. Prosecutor. What does the number of flowers have to do with anything? What does it prove?
I believe the answer to that will become clear if we were to examine that flower box. How did this contradiction come about?
There must be something behind this discrepancy. They're my beloved flowers. I've grown them with the utmost care. So I ask that you please be gentle with them as you examine them, Mr. Edgeworth.
I understand. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. It seems there is 2 holes that have been taken away. This patch of soil looks as though it has had something removed from it.
What are you doing, Mr. Prosecutor? Why'd you clam up all of a sudden? I'm still here waiting for an explanation, you know.
Did you know, Agent Lang, flowers are best appreciated in silence? Looks like 2 things were pulled out of this flower box.
2 things, eh?
This watering can has a rather robust design. Mr. Edgeworth, why are you telling us stuff we can clearly see for ourselves? Plus, if you keep wasting time talking about that, Miss Von Karma's gonna get arrested.
I better examine something else.
Can't I just examine things in peace? The name of these flowers, I believe they're called passion flowers. Despite being called flowers, they are actually a species of vine. They appear to be growing well and are well supported by these plant supports.
Yeah, but no matter how I look at it, it looks like there are only 2 here to me. You realise, don't you, sis? Your little lie has failed you.
Miles Edgeworth, hurry up and shut this man up for me already. I suppose I will need to use some evidence to shut him up, won't I? I guess. I believe I have just the piece of evidence you require.
You do you? You have such confidence in the face of your current plight. But I highly doubt it'll last until the end.
You howl like a wolf, Agent Lang. But we'll see if you have any bite to back up the bark after you see the evidence. The truth the passion flowers reveal can be seen in this piece of evidence. The truth that the passion flowers reveal. Sure. Well, hair sticks with a candy stripe pattern on them. There is some dirt on the tips. I wonder why. Could be. But they fit exactly what we see right there. And there are 2.
Take that!
Sheena, who was supposedly in Babal the entire time, had these hair sticks on her that look exactly like the plant supports in this flower box. In other words, I believe it can be said that these hair sticks are in actuality support sticks for the passion flowers. Where are the other 2 then?
So what? Is this really all that important to the case?
Of course it is. It means that we found yet another item that was smuggled between the countries tonight. Think about it logically, Agent Lang. These sticks were originally in Allebahst. But somehow they wound up in Sheena's hands, who was in Babal the whole night. So make no mistake, these sticks were smuggled somehow, just like the knife and statue. There's a lot of smuggling going on here. Very well then. I want to hear from you exactly how they wound up in Babal. Ooh. How did these support sticks find their way to Babal, and why? There must be some reason as to why they ended up there. Ha! So that's why. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this and tell me its shape. Yeah, it's just another stick, isn't it? So it is. The shape of the support sticks is what is important. But when they are used with something in this room, that's when it all comes into focus. And the object that completes the picture when used with the support sticks is. So if we're looking at its shape versus something in this room, a quick scan basically brings only one thing that matters. It was wire play, wasn't it? And how do you set up a wire? Well, if you can shoot a wire across that stabs somewhere maybe, that might not be a bad idea. I'm assuming it's this. Seems to be the leaps this game is making. That's a crossbow. Wait, you're not really suggesting... I am. And these hair sticks, or rather, plant support sticks, they make for perfect arrows. Ha! I've done it. I found the common thread that connects the two offices. Well, literally a thread, probably. But this thread has yet to be completely untangled. Even using the arrows, how does this explain how the statues were transported? Well, it's got wire and stuff. Furthermore, who could it have been who fired these sticks as arrows? There must be a common thread that ties all of these things together. Yeah, you say that. Mr. Prosecutor, hold up for a second. You do realize what happens when you tie a statue to an arrow, right? They don't fly at all. Oh, okay. Straight into another argument, eh? Border crossing part 2? So the Miles statue was draped in the Allebahstian's clothes and then shot over here. Even if you fire the arrows from this side, they wouldn't go far with a statue tied to them. I don't think I need to tell you that Prima Duck's statue didn't sprout wings. God, you're really obsessed with wings. You're a realist after all, aren't you? The Prima Duck statues didn't sprout wings. Of course they didn't. Glad you understand. I feel much better already. I was afraid for a second that you were unaware of that crucial fact. It's only crucial because you're under the belief that wings are necessary to this equation. What? You need to free your mind a bit more and let it fly like a bird on the wind. The Prima Duck statues flew, but not on a wing. Allow me a bit of your time and I'll explain this mysterious phenomenon to you. Can I just say it, wire? They didn't go in the water at all, which the only reason I was thinking like the thing might be chucked over is because we've got a pick that is wet. So I'm trying to link wet water with things. And obviously the whole drainage thing matters as well. So I just don't know where I'm lining that up now. I was trying to like link things together earlier in the video, but now I'm like, So the round statue was draped in the Allebahstian's clothes and then shot over here. Not really the Allebahstian's clothes, it was just a thing. It could be anything. That incredible scene just happened to have been caught on film, resulting in this photo. What an incredible scene it was. This photo was taken by a freelance photojournalist, right? Yes, so I hear. Not every photojournalist is known to be honest, right? Especially not the ones that sell photos of spirits and giant creatures to tabloids. Yes, I know what you mean. I've seen these sort of photos many a time in court. But there have been times when those photos have turned out to be telling the truth. If you had ever stood in a court of law, you would know that it's entirely plausible. You really believe the stuff you're spewing right now? The courtroom certainly is a strange place if what you say is true. There really is something odd about that photo, no matter how you look at it. Even if you fire the arrows from this side, they wouldn't go that far with a statue tied to them. I mean, the wire?
Hold it!
But we are in agreement that an arrow by itself would reach the other side, correct? But just the arrow by itself is pretty meaningless, don't you think, Mr. Prosecutor? Because the things they wanted to smuggle were a lot bigger than nothing. No, that's not necessarily true. What? What I need right now is not further discussion of my conclusions as the launching of my conclusions. What the shooter wanted to launch with the crossbow was not the statues themselves, but Rather, something a crossbow can launch that can be used to move the statues.
If it wasn't the statue that was tied the arrows, then what did the crossbow launch?
Is this my statement? Is this my in? Bing! Let's find out before we end another episode. Let's present the wire. And if I get another penalty, then so be it. But I know I'm so right.
Objection!
Finally. Finally indeed. We get to the actual point. So, with a pointed object flying between the two embassies, enabling the transport of a certain statue or two, we now start to get to the bottom of it all. Big smuggling. Big smuggling. We discover even more next time on Miles Edgeworth, Ace Attorney Investigations. Franziska, you'll be proven not guilty, of course. But now Agent Lang will finally see the light. I'll see you next time for more. Bye-bye.